The Boston Bar Association's third annual Beacon Award for Diversity and Inclusion is presented to GLAAD and the Massachusetts Office of the Attorney General for their work in advancing marriage equality. Their efforts have brought together an impressive network of lawyers to advance one of the most significant civil rights issues in recent history. In doing so, our honorees have engaged the legal community as an advocate for greater diversity and inclusion, both in Massachusetts and the nation.
What the Beacon Award stands for is a constant resetting of the bar of what inclusion and diversity means, not only for the legal profession, but for our city and for our Commonwealth and for our society overall.
It's community-based, but in its essence it is legal. And in that sense, it is significant for the Boston Bar Association to acknowledge through the Beacon Award this legal advocacy fight and the power behind it and how it is changing lives everywhere.
In terms of the selection process for the Beacon Award, these two separate and distinct organizations were able over time to come to an agreement on a very, very important issue. It just rose to the top of the pile and it became a clear choice for all of us.
From the moment that DOMA was passed in 1996, we knew that that law had to be challenged. So it became a real reality on May 17th, 2004, when same-sex couples could marry in Massachusetts, and thus were surely going to begin to accumulate harms from what Congress had done in 1996 with DOMA.
To this day, there are lawyers I come in contact who do not understand the impact of DOMA. They don't realize there's 1,138 rights and obligations that come from being married that we are not able to enjoy.
And so we had to find people who say we're denied health insurance benefits as federal employees, denied Social Security as surviving spouses, denied the ability to file their taxes as married filing jointly.
Not only did you have to be married and have been denied a benefit, but you had to have exhausted your administrative remedy. And they had to have their case prepared and managed and held in a way so that they could end up with a decision that was based solely on DOMA.
Attorney General Coakley always says that she no sooner had been elected to the office and not yet sworn in that she had a call from Mary Bonato wanting to talk about DOMA.
The Attorney General gave them her support, and we went back to our desks and started to think about how we as a state could be more helpful and how the AG could take a stand in protecting people's civil rights.
The Attorney General, as an elected official, as a law enforcement official, stepped up and joined in this fight when, frankly, I don't think she had to.
We knew this was going to be a significant undertaking by our office, and we had spent time developing legal theories, working with our state agency counsel in marshaling some of the facts to show how DOMA plays out day to day in the operation of our state functions. We were effectively put in a position of having to discriminate in some cases against our own citizens when we implemented certain programs that were federally funded.
And what we are essentially trying to vindicate is the ability of the people of Massachusetts, under its Declaration of Rights, to define what marriage is, and for that definition to be respected at the federal level, as it always has been historically.
Thinking over my time at GLAAD and the involvement of Boston law firms, for example, in our work, I think back to the mid-'80s when we challenged then Governor Dukakis's effort to remove foster children from gay male couple, and none of the law firms in Boston would reach out and help us. Tony Doniger from Sugarman Rogers came through, and we couldn't have done it without him. That was incredibly important. Scroll ahead to the time of Goodrich, I could go to a fundraising event when I was ED, and I could carry with me a stack of amicus briefs that were filed in that case, probably 14 or 15 of them. Each of them had the name of a Boston law firm on them. At that point, the legal community was behind us. And coming now to DOMA, I can say that there are firms like Sullivan & Worcester, Foley Hoag, who have contributed enormously of both their time and their talent.
To manage litigation that involves 17 individual plaintiffs of a case like this, it really required a lot of hands to help every plaintiff's case.
And we had a good group assembled. I thought we'd benefit from some additional resources, and so I reached out and called Mark Fleming. And I asked him if he would be willing to come on board and help out the Attorney General's office in this DOMA challenge.
And I thought about it for maybe 5 seconds and said, yes, I would be very interested in helping. And we've been working with Maura and her team, and Martha as well, of course, since the very beginning of the case, from the filing of the complaint through to the filing of the certiorari stage documents in the Supreme Court.
So we had our team from the AG's office, GLAAD had its team, we each had our own pro bono counsel, and then we started to reach out because there was a significant amicus effort.
We as a firm at Bingham thought that this brief was very important to write because it showed our values, but also, more to the point, it showed the values of the business community signatories on the brief. What we found is, by virtue of the business community signing on to the brief, that they felt that there was a way through legal channels that they were able to effectuate change in the law, to see a different type of society.
It was a terrific lesson for me in partnership and in what's possible when you try to assemble a team from a real cross-section and move together in the same direction.
Assuming that all the best things happen in this from GLAAD's perspective, and that by the end of next year DOMA is gone, people would say, well, you've got it, you've won. Well, yes, there's a certain truth to that in the formal equality sense, but in the terms of lived equality, there's still a lot of work, and that's really, I guess, the work of diversity and inclusion, of making sure that every citizen, regardless of race, ethnicity, color, creed, sexual orientation, is treated on a day-to-day basis as an equal citizen. That's our goal for everybody, and I'm sure that's the Bar Association's goal, to make the law work to create that vision of America.
I guess what's really, to me, timely about the joint award is that we live in an age of networks, whether it's social networks or online networks. And what we saw here was a networking of the profession in a public and private way, that we were allowed to use the tools of our trade that we're quite proud of as a legal profession to make change not only that benefited our narrow niche of society as a legal profession, but also benefited society as a whole. And again, I think the result of the combined efforts was far greater and more impactful than the efforts of either individual organization on its own.